Behind the Dish is sponsored by DBAT. Check out dbat.net for baseball and softball products, franchise information, and to find a location near you. And now your host, John Piper.
Welcome, everyone, to Behind the Dish. John Piper, we're broadcasting live from the 75th Annual ABCA Convention here at the Gaylord Texan. I am pleased to be joined by head baseball coach Todd Whitting of the Houston Cougars. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Great turnout here today.
Well, it's busy. We're right here. A lot going on, a lot of coaches milling around, and it's so awesome that as a coach, you get to come together. It's such a unique fraternity to get together for 3 days of baseball heaven. What's it like to come back to another ABCA?
Well, it is. This is my 24th one, so I think my first one was in Nashville years and years ago. But it's always good because this is only one time a year that you get to see guys that coach a profession that, you know, you're not out recruiting, you're not out there baking in the sun, you're not competing against each other. You can kind of just hang out and you kind of pick each other's brains a little bit.
So did I hear that right? You've been to 24 consecutive ABCAs?
I don't know if I made all of them, but I've been a member for 24 years. There's one or two there I probably didn't come to.
Yeah, we were talking off the air. To be a coach in this game, a game you played, you were a player at the University of Houston, and to coach starting your 24th season, and to be only at two spots. You were a player at Houston, you were an assistant coach at Houston, then you moved a little north to Fort Worth, right across town.
Right.
Worked closely with your good friend Jim Schlossnagel, spent 5 years as associate head coach. It's very rare in this business to be at only two schools for your 24 years.
It is. You know, I've been extremely fortunate. I've been around unbelievable people, you know, coming up through the coaching ranks, and really fortunate to have great players that allow me to really be at two tremendous institutions. I always have a dear love for University of Houston, being a former player there, and TCU will always hold a special place in my heart, and what Jim and I were able to do, you know, getting that thing started.
Are there any speakers? I know you've got a busy schedule, but are there any other coaches, you've been to a lot of these, that you have penciled on your calendar that you want to sit in, maybe be a fly on the wall and listen to what they have to say during the convention this week? You
know, I think for me, you know, a lot of guys, they'll just pencil the big name ones, you know, the Division I guys sometimes, or some of the pro ones, but, you know, some of the smaller school guys, you can really learn a lot from those, you know, the intricacies of the game, and I like to jump in on some of those as well. So I'll be hit and miss. I really go off the subjects I'm kind of looking for. For me, the topic, you know, I'm really trying to get better at base running, trying to get our offense a little more prolific. I think we do a pretty good job with a pressure type offense, but you can get better, and just kind of listen to what some guys are doing on base running this year is kind of my deal.
It must be special, Coach Whitting, to be a player at the University of Houston and then coach there and then get an opportunity to go back as the head coach. What's that meant to you and your family to be back in Houston for these last years and lead that program?
Well, it's a dream come true for me to go back to my alma mater and coach. And, you know, when I left Houston after the 2003 season, we had just finished a super regional. And Coach Schlossnagel called me to gauge my interest in going to TCU with him. And at that time, you know, we were coming off 3 super regionals in 4 years. TCU had, I think, been to 2 regionals in 100 or something like that. You know, it didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to go to TCU because we were one of the top 15, 20 teams in the country year in, year out at Houston. But, you know, I had a lot of respect for Coach Schlossnagel. The only thing I'd really known at that point was University of Houston baseball. Between being a player and a coach, that was 13 years. So for me, like I told everybody at the time, I was leaving Houston to hopefully come back as a head coach one day. And very rarely does your best laid plans kind of work out, and that one did. We go to TCU for 7 years. We go to Omaha in 2010. The job at Houston comes open 2 days after I get back from Omaha. I'm the head coach at Houston at my alma mater, and the job I'd always wanted.
And last year, 2018, you were recognized by the American Athletic Conference as the Coach of the Year. 3 conference titles in the last 4 years, 5 overall. You've been honored by the American Baseball Coaches Association a couple times as the Regional Coach of the Year. 7 seasons at TCU, like you mentioned, with Coach Schlossnagel. And you're known as a strong recruiter. Obviously, that's the key, getting talent, whether you were at Houston before, TCU, and now back at Houston. What are some of the keys in today's recruiting environment to bring the type of player you want to be a Cougar?
Well, it's changed a lot. Even since the time I left TCU 9 years ago when I was a recruiting coordinator, the game is completely different. The kids are committing earlier. There's so many opportunities to see them now, and you've got social media with so many things out there. So it's really a different game. But I think if you just, we tried at Houston to stay with the basics. Go find good players that fit into our program, that fit into our system. We're more of a blue-collar type player, I think. And just roll with those and and you just got to put on your hat and whistle and coach them up, and that's what we do. We're not getting all the 5-star guys down at Houston. We get great players, and we've had a tremendous track record in the draft and guys in Major League Baseball. But we just try to get in there and coach them up as hard as we can, and hope it works out.
You just mentioned with social media and everything that's going on with the smartphone. Over 10 years ago, there wasn't an iPhone.
Right.
Nowadays, the approach to recruiting and the evolution of the smartphone, has that changed you and your staff's tactics on how you communicate with kids?
Oh, there's no question. We talk about it in meetings almost every single day on what is the best way to connect with the kids now. And social media is such a big part of their life. You have to be able to maneuver Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and all the things they use. And we still do it the old-fashioned way. We send out a lot of letters. We send out emails. We try to make as much of a personal touch as we possibly can. I think sometimes you can get carried away with the technology, but just sometimes a good old-fashioned handwritten letter to a kid or a phone call, is as effective as anything.
And what would you say in that environment, Coach Whitting, is the biggest challenge, in recruiting a new class of freshman players and bringing on some junior college players as well?
Everything happens so fast. I don't think you get a chance. Back when I was a recruiting coordinator, you would go out and, you called guys July 1st, you compiled your list the year before, you set up official visits and those kind of things. And now those don't really happen as much. So I've always thought we did a good job in the past in those days of building relationships with players. Now it's hard to build the relationship with the players and families like you used to be able to, because everybody's trying to make a decision quick. We're trying to make a decision quick on whether we want to offer a kid a scholarship. They're trying to make a quick decision due to pressure. Where they want to commit to. It's the pressure that it's a beast we all create ourselves, but that's the environment we're in today.
Let's talk a little player development. I know you guys have been hard at work here in the fall, right as you roll into the new year. What have you and your staff been focused on with your team during fall practice as you prep for the 2019 season?
I really think every fall is about building relationships instead of championships. And once you get that part of it down, the championships will, hopefully that's part of the process that'll come later. But really putting our system in. We approach every fall just like nobody on the team knows anything about our system, our schemes, or what we're doing. Just try to be as fundamental as we possibly can be, just to make sure there's no confusion when we get into this season. And you kind of go in different segments with it. We'll kick in the next phase of it when we get back and get started here in the next couple of weeks.
And baseball is a unique sport, unlike football or basketball, where we see kids, especially at the high school level, that may not make their team as a freshman, but become a very good player, end up going and play some college ball. Do you have some kids that come in as freshmen, whether you saw them at the University of Houston or at TCU, and you thought they may not stick around, they may not make it to their junior or senior year, and they end up they put in the work, and they become, all-conference type player, an everyday starter their senior year?
The best example I have of that is a kid that was a senior for me last year named Connor Hollis that I used to give lessons to at TCU. He was 8-9 years old, graduated from high school. Dad called me wanting to come walk on the team, and I'm like, there's no way, he can't make our team. I knew this kid. And the dad's, well, he's going to try. And because I knew him, I gave him an opportunity. And I told him, I said, look, I'm going to give you an opportunity. I'm probably going to cut you your first fall. Just I got to get to 35, and that's the rules, and that's what we have to do. We hung around, he kept getting better. Ended up keeping him on the roster. He was coaching first base for me. He had a couple of injuries go down. And long story short, for the next four years, he never came out of the lineup. And was an all-conference player. We ended up getting drafted. Led the I think one of the A-ball leagues last year in home runs and batting average, or it was up in the leaders. And it's all about will. Will is an unbelievably powerful thing, and that's why any kid I come across or any kid in my program that has unbelievable passion and will and some athletic ability, you can't ever give up on those guys.
We love those kind of stories, the off-season conditioning, the work, the cage. We see, some of these kids that just live in the cages, but then they also have to do it in the classroom. Sure. I know you're looking for a certain type of player academically. What could you tell the parents and the student-athlete out there that are listening about getting their game right in the classroom?
Well, to me, it's all the same. It all goes back to trust. For me to put you in the lineup, I have to be able to completely trust you on and off the field. And off the field includes the classroom, it's your social life, and so on and so forth. Everybody, I think, a lot of perception is, well, I'm going to go there and play baseball, and I'm going to get drafted and be a big leaguer. Well, that's not reality. There's a difference in professional baseball and Major League Baseball, and neither one of them are a career choice for most people, a very small percentage. So the academics correlates on the field. I rarely have ever had a kid who doesn't do well in the classroom, at least at whatever his level is, who's successful in the field. It just does, it speaks about your personality, it speaks about your persona, about your character and your discipline. And that's really what school is. It's all discipline and character and commitment to being great.
You've had a lot of success on the field, Coach Whitting. Obviously, baseball is a game of adversity. What could you tell, that teenage audience and their parents, that 13 to 16-year-olds, about adversity and overcoming some of those challenges that they're going to face, not only on the ball diamond, but off the field as well? Well,
it's hard. The hardest thing, being a freshman's tough, and you very rarely do you see a kid come in as a freshman and just completely dominate on the Division I level, a top 25 level that we're fortunate enough to play in. So you really have to keep you got to keep your nose to the grindstone. You've got to trust the program and the process of whatever team or whatever university you're playing for. You got to put your complete trust in your coaches and your teammates, and more than anything, you've got to trust yourself.
And we're here in Texas. It's a little chilly outside, but traditionally, especially in Houston, it's a little more tropical. Kids can play the game year-round. We've met some folks from New York that are here coming by the American Baseball Coaches Convention. They can't quite do that in New York. But what would you tell the kids that are playing, focused on baseball year-round? Are they getting to the point where they're playing too much?
You hear a lot of people say that, but I don't think so. If you're having fun playing the game and you want to go play it, go play it. There's a lot of worse things you can do than be out playing baseball, And I think, us for arm care, yes. Mentally getting tired, yes. You can burn yourself out. You can hurt yourself, especially the pitchers. But you know what? It's a game, and kids love to play it. And why wouldn't you play it all year if you can? We're fortunate in Texas, especially in Houston, where we have great weather. I'm going to be in shorts down there on Saturday and Sunday at our baseball camp, looking at the forecast. But yeah, if the kid will tell you if it's too much. If they start, lose a little bit of passion for it, obviously, then you might want to pull back a little bit. But shoot, if they like playing, send them out there and let them play.
Well, Coach, we're just over 40 days until your opening series at home versus Northwestern State. It's got to be an exciting time of year for your program.
It is. Once January 1 hits, you kind of really get into baseball mode. And I try to give my staff as much of December off as we can. We don't do a whole lot of camps or things in there. Those guys, especially my assistants, are out there grinding on the recruiting trail. They literally don't come home. During the entire fall, they're practice every day. They're gone every weekend on the road somewhere. So it's a good time for everybody to spend time with their family, get the batteries recharged. But once January 1 gets here, you can kind of feel. You get a little bit of feeling. You get a little frisky. And my family, we always go on a ski trip right around the first, so we just got back last night. So usually when I hit this convention, it's kind of like go time. It's kind of like a mental start button for me.
Now, I do have to ask you, on the skiing, snowboard or skis?
Definitely skis.
Yeah,
definitely skis.
Yeah, if you start with skis, I think you stick with skis.
I can definitely stay more. My whole goal is just to stay upright.
I bet the kids like the snowboard, though, right?
No, mine are all skiers.
Yeah.
And they all ski. Even down to my 6-year-old, they all ski better than I do.
Well, you mentioned as we prepared for this podcast, a new 20,000 square foot clubhouse that you're building at the University of Houston for your ball club. If you could tell the audience a little bit about what's coming and what they can expect for the facilities there at the University of Houston.
Well, one thing I can tell you as far as Houston is we're extremely committed, especially the sport of baseball, and really all sports across the board, in winning. And we spent $150 million at Houston athletic facilities over the past couple of years with a new football stadium, renovated basketball arena that just opened up, basketball practice facility, football indoor, new bank track that just went last week, and then we've spent $9 million. Once this building's done, we'll spend $9 million in baseball in 9 years. 5.5 of that being on this building. Our new turf a couple of years ago, our video board at the time was the largest one in college baseball. You name it, we've really rebuilt the stadium. But that new clubhouse is, I'd always had a goal, and I had a master plan when I went there as far as the facility and the program, and the clubhouse was the last thing on the list. And I can't wait to punch that one off. It's going to be a great facility. Like you said, it's 20,000 square feet. The locker room itself is about 2,600 square feet. A great hydrotherapy area. We've got weight room. We've got cages upstairs. We've got a tremendous club level for the fans. a great players lounge. I'm really excited to get people in there. I really want to get my team in there. I'm really happy for them that they're going to finally see this thing come to fruition.
You mentioned the University